Good morning, folks. We have with us Mr. Manish Kumar, CHRO, Ziqitza Healthcare Limited, and we'll come to that Manish, why that name. Manish is also a senior of mine from XISS Ranchi and personally a mentor and guide, somebody I look up to. Welcome Manish to Flip Carbon TV, a place of infinite possibilities. My first question to you is, of course, how the name came about, Ziqitza Healthcare. If you can share a few words on that.
Sure, Prabhash. First of all, thank you. Thank you for inviting me here. The name Ziqitza is actually coming from two Hindi words, Jigyasa and Ziqitza.
Okay.
So Jigyasa, curiosity, that what else can you do in the world of Ziqitza, the healthcare. And since the world of healthcare was full of doctors, hospitals, nursing homes, but no one had looked at the mobility part of the patient. And that's how the ambulance business, the seed of the ambulance business came in. And it was also driven by some personal experiences of the founders, where they had gone through tough times getting an ambulance when they entirely needed it. It was acute emergency and it was extremely difficult to find an ambulance. And that's where this thought came in. And now it's standing business for the last 18 years and doing pretty well. We have 10,600 employees.
Oh, that's interesting. And we'll come and have a little bit more conversation about the nature of the business and the way this business has stood up around these last 40, 45 days. But let me first introduce the topic to you. HR has been much maligned, and I think some have been serious conversations, some have been stand-up comedians take on this, but HR has been much maligned for being a Rangoli competition department. A department which focuses way too much on these soft aspects of engagement, Diwali Bash, Rangoli competition. So that's why I thought today's topic, could very well be Rangoli competitions and other near-death experiences for employees. So tell me, how many Rangoli competitions you have been guilty of?
Can't, in fact, count many. And I'm as guilty as anyone else. But in this entire journey of last 26 years, I've also been part of Rangoli competitions, which were like real good deep competition. So it's all about the intention and what, as an investor, you would say or you would call, do you have your skin in the game? So if management, the senior management, senior leadership has their skin in the Rangoli competition, it works really well. But if you don't put your skin in the game, then it's just a competition. And then no one cares about it. So what I realized later on is that anything which you do, whether it is a Rangoli or a Diwali Mela, put your skin in the game. Have that intention clear. Then people see that value. And it makes that impact which you actually want to do.
Okay, I also have a take on this. I believe that if your people are engaged, then they enjoy the Diwali Bash and the Rangoli competition. But if you haven't really invested in engaging people and then jump straight to these event management actions in HR, then it doesn't work. What do you think?
Absolutely. And I think in many instances we do that. We simply go with an event management mindset. We don't go with the HR mindset. And this event management mindset is the damaging part, where it is all show off, just the event on the surface, and no skin, no intention. So any PR person can do it. Why to get it done by HR? Any event management company can do it, and that's where we are actually at fault as a community also, in many cases. So if we just go ahead and do it, then it's just a fun event. But if we go deeper into it and drive it the way any investor would drive his or her business, even a Rangoli would be a nice deeper engagement and engagement which people would remember.
Of course. And that reminds me of I come from the Sam Miller universe. And this reminds me of our Diwali Bash, when the Diwali gift hamper used to also have 2 pints of beer in it.
Yeah.
And when I would bring that hamper home, a lot of people would ask this question, how can somebody have a couple of pints of beer in a Diwali gift hamper? And the answer was very simple. No, Lakshmi किसी भी form में है, Lakshmi ही होती है. So just a memory that just came to me at this point.
Yeah.
So I think the engagement is a good subject to continue with. One of the current challenges I think for all HR folks is how to keep people engaged, motivated under these circumstances, especially when you also couple that with wage cuts, cash flows challenges in organization, which are very, very genuine. So it's not that organizations are doing it for fun. It's a very genuine concern for organization that cash flow has dried up, revenue isn't there, collections are delayed, and there is no cash flowing through the economy. Within that context, employees are likely to get hit through sabbaticals, job losses, perhaps. How do you keep people engaged? And I'm not talking just about within your organization, but even otherwise, how do you keep this entire ecosystem of talent engaged? Because it's going to hurt everyone. Ultimately, it's an employee who goes out there and purchases goods and services, and that's how an economy runs. So how do you keep that level of engagement going through the ecosystem, not just within an organization, but even outside it?
So are you looking at this scenario, Prabhas, for this conversation or overall generally? Because this is a very unusual situation. Unprecedented, this word everyone uses, and we are still grappling with factors or things which we don't know. Very little is known about, and how it will unfold, whether it is a 2-month situation or a 9-month situation or an 18-month situation, we don't know. So it brings in a very different degree of seriousness. And hence, the first question which we need to ask is that, how do we survive? And how do we keep it going? From both sides. From the organization side, the organization must survive. And to organization to survive, the employee also must survive. And how do I balance these two? So each industry will do its own assessment. They will look at all factors, 6 months, 18 months, 24 months, ability to ramp up, ability to come back, ability to generate cash. And HR needs to play a role there. You need to understand this part really, really in deep. It needs a really comprehensive understanding of where your business is, who your stakeholders are, who's paying you money, who will not pay you money, what is their pain. And then look at my cash flows, my cash reserves, how long can I continue, which segment to look at, which segment to let go, and accordingly, what sort of a cash flow I would be able to manage. So HR's job is not just engagement, but a very solid communication, a very comprehensive and meaningful communication, and then engagement. Look at all aspects. Then it works. I think as an employee, I would also expect to know where my business stands. What is the cash flow situation? For how long can it run? If I understand it well, possibly I'll say on my own, if I'm a senior employee, that I'm happy to forego maybe 20%, 30%, 40%, 50% because I want the survival of the company. And if you look at these questions, then the answers are.
So I think you made a couple of interesting points around employees' role in organization survival at this point. I think as HR professionals, we kind of seesaw between a sense of either from a position of complete authority or being apologetic about some of our decisions. So either it's about that everything is all right with the organization, we are doing great guns, it's business as usual, or it is about sorry folks, we have had to do these things to you. So this entire concept of a family, where you don't do things to each other, you do things for each other. This somewhere goes out of the. So while in the normal circumstances we talk about families, and we call. I come from ACC. My first job was in ACC, and we used to call it the ACC Parivar. So from this concept of the ACC Parivar, where the Parivar members do things for each other, they don't do things to each other, right? So under those contexts, we are all in the same boat, right? So what should be the HR messaging in this to employees?
I think what you just said about ACC Parivar, that's the message. that if the parivar has to survive, there has to be give and take. And there has to be promises from both sides. That would be the ideal situation. That if we are making a promise to both, to say if an employee is making a promise to the organization, if the organization is making a promise to the employee, that would be the best and the most balanced. So if we can get that, I think that's the message. And then we keep on honoring it. It is coming from the factor of that I'm concerned about you and you are concerned about. If we're able to do it in a gentle and simple and nuanced way, people understand. Uh, if I know that my cash flow would be under severe stress for the next 12 months, uh, I would be happy to contribute and let the organization survive. And if that message goes across in a simple, gentle way, without hiding facts, I think then it works. But my situation is something else, and I want to take advantage of the situation around me, then that also people understand. And that's where we have to get into all these kind of make-believe kind of communication, sounding apologetic, or making up excuses, or just giving it a sugar-coated kind of a language. That
Yeah. So hypothetically, if you suppose you are part of a retail industry or an organization which has been hit hard, because you being part of the healthcare ancillary healthcare business, you are still kind of cocooned from the rest of the world. What's happened
not
to
really, not really.
talk about that also. But
Yeah.
hypothetically, if you are suppose part of retail, which is completely shut down for the time being, or tourism, which is likely to be shut down for a long time, and obviously tough decisions would happen. When under those circumstances, what would be those 2 or 3 things you would say to people who still exist in the organization or who are still supposed to perform while they have seen a few colleagues lose their jobs, they have been all around wage cuts? What would be those 1, 2, 3 messages that you would like to give people if you were to be HR head of such an organization?
So the basic point which I would like to talk about in this scenario is that this is a situation of pain, and everyone will endure some part of it. How much pain you get or you go through would depend on where you were in the organization, right? So some parts of the organization will take a larger portion or larger share of the pain. Some would take little lesser, and that essentially comes from that what will keep me going. So whatever gives me oxygen, that would remain with the body. Whatever is not giving me oxygen would not remain with the body. So the organs which are giving me oxygen possibly would remain with me for the longer time. Organs which are not, possibly I'll chop them off first. Chop them off is the wrong word, but that's how it happens.
Yeah,
So
you will have to operate. Of course, you'll
so
have.
it's a survival question again. That for survival, what's bare minimum can be. And but the sad point is that see we are uh, in ICU or we are under pain, and everyone will have to go through this period of pain. And as situation improves, we would like to call you back and do what we were doing in a good, happy time.
Okay.
So I'm not forgetting you, but yes, let me survive, go through this. If I come out all right, we'll all be together. Till then, goodbye. And I wish you all the luck. Figure out something else which will keep you happy and going, or at least it will help you survive.
And the people who stay around, the people who kind of get lucky under these circumstances are still around, although they might have been wage cuts. And I've had my own personal experiences with my own clients where the leadership team has taken massive pay cuts to make sure that nobody has to lose their job and people continue in the organization. Or if there are pay cuts, there are marginal pay cuts for other people. So you still survive in the organization, but you do have an EMI to pay, still have school fees to pay, you have a house to run, you have parents to take care of. Under those circumstances, even 5,000 rupees less a month for certain set of people could be a significant amount of money less. And still they have to come to work and give it their best shot. What's the message for such people?
See, these are people or organs whom you want to survive with you, be with you. And again, the question of that why we are in it together, we must explain. Why others have gone, we must explain. And what critical role you play in this journey of survival, that needs to be explained. It's not that they are not undergoing pain. They also have the added guilt of that others have lost their job and I'm still around. So my best friend, my colleague, my co-worker who was sitting next to me is no longer there, but I'm still here. So there is a feeling of guilt also. So this is where you as a leader or a senior HR manager or a senior business leader need to come and play a role. It's coming from the survival, but again, working for something where it will lead to a larger good, maybe 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the line will again flourish. And that's where you're playing your role. You're building a platform for future. You're helping this platform to survive and again prosper when the good time comes.
Okay. And I see my personal, I have seen some of my own colleagues at Flipkart work incredibly hard during this period. Almost every team member has stepped up and has been counted, and people have worked on multiple new projects trying to get them online. So that actually brings me kind of to the personal accountability question. I genuinely personally believe that if you can bring locus of control internal, and this is one of my favorite subjects. If you can get locus of control internal, then you can tie it through any time. So that's what my inputs to my team has been. And I think one of the challenges that people will go through is when there are so many distractions out in the market, uh, how to keep that locus of control internal. How have you been able to do that? Your career has been a career of many parts, right? How have you been able to do that?
My own experience on this side has been that look at it very dispassionately. If you're not required, you're not required. It's a question of economics and a question of survival. Possibly you're not the best fit at this point of time, and possibly your exit might help the organization. Why not? It's like uh, a fighting unit where 3 or 4 members volunteer to go in first and make contact with the enemy, while others are giving cover fire. So each such act, selfless act, what you call it, is important. But it doesn't mean that the guy who was just doing cover fire was any less important. So for me, personally, I think I have gone through a number of such journeys now. Uh, one part was that what is best for the business and what is the role which you can play in it. If I can play a role staying outside the ring or in the ring, I'll not mind doing either of them. So I purely go by what is a good, fair, objective analysis. Where do you stand in this?
Okay. So let me bring the next question up from your own industry. I mean, yours has been an industry which has not really been locked down in that sense of the word. In fact, it's out there fighting. So what has been your experience at ZHL over the last 40, 45 days in terms of what's happening in the industry, how you have coped? I'm sure you would have been expected to ramp up all across the country. How has that happened? If you can share some of those experiences.
So Ziqitza operates ambulance services in 5 states: Punjab, MP, Jharkhand, Odisha, and Sikkim. Each state has its own challenges and a very different terrain when it comes to dealing with this kind of a situation. And right now, sitting and talking here with you, I am carrying a feeling of satisfaction that the team could do what it was supposed to be working on and what was expected out of us. So, uh, be it tremendous ramp up, like making a 25-seater call center and taking it to 350 in a short span of 3 or 4 or 5 days, or making a distributed call center so that your operations run, work, even if one location goes down, or taking care of employees, their commutes, their food, their health, well-being, uh, ensuring that your ambulance crew remains supported at all times, uh, gloves, personal protection equipment, masks, kits, sanitizers, whatever it is. So their food arrangement and the team in the region, they actually are facing this and they really did a fantastic job. So many times panic situation, but coming together, looking at it, asking for right kind of a support, and then getting on with it. And I'm very happy to share with you, Prabhas, that the kind of support which the government provides in these times is tremendous. Each state, each state bureaucracy came up, and they worked at a level which sometimes in private sector we can't even. So when most difficult time when everyone was groping in the dark, there are state governments, and I don't want to name it here, but coming up and say that what you need. You need to hire 250 people, I'll provide you. You need to move your people to a hostel or want a dedicated room, I'll provide you. So 300 rooms organized in a city. 20-25 buses given to you for commute of your employees so that they can come to the call center and take all possible calls so that people in the state don't suffer. Dedicating ambulances for COVID-19 positive cases so that they can be segregated, their crew can be segregated, different kind of a quarantine or cleaning of the vehicle or sanitization of the vehicle can be managed. Tremendous work. And think of it, creating a hospital, COVID dedicated hospital in a flat, say, 15 days period or 25 days period, and making sure that all precautions, all guidelines are adhered with is tremendous job. But the experiences would vary. You would have states which had like very high degree of preparedness, very committed bureaucracy, and you also have examples where people woke up little late, and but still the experiences were positive.
Yeah, so in fact, I think if there's one thing that COVID-19 has done, it has burst the myth of government being slower than the private sector. I think if you look at Arogya Setu app, something like that coming up in record time, and it has just been ratified by an independent ethical hacker that the layers of security are just amazing in that app. Or if you look at the Garud app, where the Garud portal has come live to enable drone services for the fight against COVID. Whether it is drone delivery or it is drone surveillance, the Garud app was prepared by just one NIC employee in record time. So I think the first introspection for maybe the private sector is that maybe we also have a few lessons that we can learn from the government. In terms of managing a 130 crore population through hundreds of districts, all at different levels of development, different level of accessibility, and still get the world's largest app online in record time. And the numbers, the numbers are touchwood magical. Looking at the nature of our country and the current state of COVID-19, I'm actually pleasantly surprised, and I'm actually extremely grateful to those people who work incredibly hard to go and join the IAS, and then for the rest of their life, all they hear from the citizenry is that this kind of doesn't work. And that has been proven wrong. And you must have had your own personal experiences. You just shared some. Any one instance which really comes to mind in terms of an overnight success story? Because when I talk to people to even get a report out overnight, it's sometimes a difficult task, and if you have to set up, let's say, a call center overnight, I'm sure that's no easy task.
So just think of it, a medical helpline being managed by 25 or 30 odd employees, and that ramp up going up to 350 in a 48 hours time frame with all technology build up, people build up, training, and ensuring that right kind of a support gets extended to anyone who calls up that line. That's the kind of stuff which we night, making sure the system works, making sure people get trained, making sure that they remain in a safe working environment, making sure that all kind of a right reports comes out, and there is no ball getting dropped anywhere. That uh, I think is amazing in any situation. And this was a very, very difficult and unique situation which we managed. Hats off to the team, and hats off to the bureaucracy, state bureaucracy, which helped us in executing this. Their simple thing was, what do you need? Tell me. And even when it came to hiring people, if you are struggling, let me know. They came back with uh, support and sources that here you can get your employees. Go ahead, deploy them, train them. They deployed their own officers, 10 to 12 senior officers, doctors to manage the situation, provide right kind of support. So helping and working hand in hand.
Okay. So how do you see the current situation panning out? Next 12, 18 months? Any bhavishwani for the next 12 to 18 months?
Good period to make a guess would be post monsoon, my own assessment. But otherwise, I'm not looking at a really, really very dark picture. For me, 130 crores Indians, and what is the number of infections we're talking about even today? Little upward of 60,000 or close to 60,000. Uh, what is the casualty rate we are looking at? I don't think we are looking at something which should numb the nation or numb people. We are still looking at a situation which is way manageable. The rural areas, eastern India, northeast, the hinterland is still pretty safe. So I would think that if we have a good monsoon, uh, the agriculture sector, rural sector would remain in good hands, safe hands. Life and livelihood question of 50-60% population wouldn't pose a big problem for us. We should be concerned about the big economic things. That's Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Delhi, where we have to look at it from a different lens and go for very strict micro level containment zone and allow economic activities to happen, maybe in a staggered manner, different way. But I'm not looking at a very dark picture or a bleak picture. I think uh, coming winters we should be in a good state. That's how I look at it. If you're able to pull through the monsoons in a more stricter way, a more disciplined way, then winter should be a good time.
So you do believe that we still are placed well to individually, let's talk about companies, you're still placed well to kind of still chase the 12-month target in the next 10 months or so.
So from the company side, we all 95% of our business is coming from state government. So we depend on the state revenue. If they remain healthy, their finances remain healthy, we are in good shape. But if they have issues and there are delays on payment or there are cut down on payment, then we'll be in a difficult position. So everything depends on the way the state government finances shape up and they're able to allocate their resources for health or health related.
So of course, and I think that brings us to this very important question of revenue versus cash flows.
Yeah.
Even if you have secured revenues, if your cash flows go out of hand, then every time you sell, you actually get into greater trouble. And I think that's something which is sometimes difficult for people to understand, and hence how important it is to choose your customers wisely, get the collection cycles in control. I think these are some of the elements that sometimes they are not taught in B schools. I think accountancy is still taught in a traditional fashion. The management action linked to accountancy is not always taught. Any advice for the youngsters there?
I think what you just said is something which people should focus on when you are joining an organization. Take interest and try to understand the basic nuances of this. Who's my customer? What state he is in? where I can be at risk, what would work good for me, what's my business environment, what's my economic environment. Asking these basic questions, engaging with seniors, trying to uh, understand these parts at fundamental level will make you a good professional. So I know coming from HR background, we would know most of the stuff about compensation, benefits, labor laws, what I need to be doing in a particular situation. But uh, uh, having a good understanding of your complete business environment will take you to that coveted corner, which normally where normally HR people don't do.
Let me change the track here a little bit. I do know that you come from Bihar, the land of ghee, masala, and hard work.
Yeah.
And I do know that you are a foodie. Are you the cooking kind, the eating kind, or the feeding kind?
A good mix of all three. That's how you typically define a Bihari, right?
Yeah. So I know your day has been of 12, 14 hours in this last 1 month. How much of cooking have you been able to?
So last uh, 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 40, 45 days, I would have done around 6 or 7 days.
Okay. So now next question is a little serious because I have grappled with this question personally, and that's why I thought maybe let me check with you as well. Uh, how do you cope with the guilt of having 3 square meals on your plate every day when we see so many people going abject hunger, people walking home for 300, 400 kilometers? How do you cope with the guilt? Because I've been grappling with that guilt.
It actually this is the guilt which will keep you. This is without this guilt you won't remain a human. So every day, every meal, every action, this is playing somewhere in my mind. I can't live without this. So the only way I deal with it is that what I can do, what is it within my control. Keep on doing that right stuff. Big, small, large, doesn't matter. One small contribution, one big contribution, here and there. That's what I keep on doing. I keep on spreading the same message that do whatever you can. Doesn't matter whether it is small or insignificant. As long as you are doing it, some bit of satisfaction, some bit of a sense that I'm doing something will remain with you, will stay with you. That's the only way to deal with this feeling of guilt. But don't let this feeling of guilt go away.
Okay, that's interesting. Don't let it get away.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what makes us human. That's a very powerful point, actually. Uh, the other thing that I noticed, in these times, it's actually quite difficult to keep a smile on. But
Yeah.
right through this conversation, you have been able to manage a smile on your face very, very frequently. What's your secret sauce?
No definitive answer, Prabhas, for this one, but I think it's small parts in small parts the way I grew up or the way we grew up in Bihar and Jharkhand. Very simple way of looking at life. Very simple way of doing your own bit and keep moving on. Uh, keep it simple. Keep on doing the right stuff. That's what uh, keeps me grounded. And when I'm grounded, I'm happy with myself. When I'm sure that I haven't done anything wrong, which has aggravated the situation, then it's a natural way of living. And the smile is a natural way of expressing myself that I'm still in control.
Okay. You also carry the aura of someone who has kind of found a fix on the fleeting nature of personal ambitions and achievements. Uh, what's your message to people who are still kind of caught up in the third layer of Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Very difficult and complex question. Very difficult to answer also. Uh, People will figure out this on their own, right? About what stage of life you are. It's about the journey. So if you think that your existence is all because of your visiting card, then I think you're missing something big time. You're not your visiting card, you're not your designation, you're not your organization. There is an identity much beyond that. And I think it's all about finding your own identity. As long as you get fixated with the external world and leave it to the external world to define you, then I think you're doing injustice to yourself. So coming to this deeper question of who you are and then how do you define yourself, I think if you try to figure out an answer there, then it becomes easy. As well as what influences you, the kind of reading you do, the kind of people you live with, the influences around you. So very fortunate that I come across people who are extremely good, very nice human beings, powerful human beings, and that's also a big influence.
Thank you, Manish, so much for speaking to Flipkart TV. You know we love talking to you. We'll come back to you again. Any last words you want to leave for our viewers?
Well, keep on trying. I think this is a difficult situation, so just make your small bit of contribution will change it.
Thank you so much. Viewers, we were talking to Manish Kumar, the CHRO of Ziqitza Healthcare Limited. Thank you, Manish, for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Prabhash. Thanks again for inviting me.